we have another StarCraft replay. Everybody loves these. I'm gonna get this boosted up. I'm gonna have a quick look at Zoro over here and get the draft phase through. It's 50 minutes. God bless. Let's get it rolling. Let me check my settings. We'll go up here. Yes, output 160. Okay, looking solid. Let's close this. Alright, and we've got our Zoro here. Let's get a quick look.
This one's mine.
We've got a little bit of a skirmish here. We've got Zoro pushing up. We're pressing tab. Alright, it's pretty standard build. His standard build. Obviously, the alternate is to start with Lost Treasure and Wealth. And you can kind of squeeze that by having 3 points damage, 1 health, and then 3 points in utility with that. You'd probably take move speed, energy, and wealth with that page, but he probably has a little bit more into attack. Obviously, he probably wanted the spell damage, so I'm wondering. Yeah, I think you could take the spell damage and you'd skip the attack speed on Lurker, so that would be a good set for runes. I'm gonna set over to everyone here. Alright, so in the top lane we have Shiro on Vorpal. Good start here. It looks like he's got Recover, so he is pretty solid. Recover kind of loses value on Vorpal, but it's still okay. It just sucks that you can't make any use of the other part. We got Rev with a coil and some regen. He has Transport. Start Q looks pretty solid. That is a weird build here. We probably want to see a machete out of the Huntress just to get the pressure going here. And then probably follow that up with a crit item, just a Coaling Saver. So this start probably not very good for pressuring lane. Definitely don't do this in your regular games. Actually, you don't want to do this in any game unless you're picking up jungle. Alright, bottom lane we've got Mother with some goggles here. I've experimented with goggles. I used to start goggles quite a bit, but now I've found Buckler to just be more solid, especially if you're going to be in a lane where you don't want to get impacted. So here it looks like he's 1v2, so definitely Buckler here gonna help a lot because you're gonna make up the money by just getting CS. Teleport, transport. I prefer the Recover nowadays. Same reason, just transport too weak. Let's pass over to the Vega. We've got standard items here. I do prefer goggles over Lost Treasure. It's just because you don't have the deny problem. Obviously, as it stays, goggles are gonna be preferable. And then we've got our Artanis. He's got a machete here. He's going to be doing quite a bit of damage. They'll probably get a pickup here. Kind of expected here. Just Bio doesn't really have that much defense, so especially without the Buckler, he's going to be pretty exposed. Alright, let's look over the jungle. Still no change on Zoro. He's farming camps. It looks like he's got some weird pathing going on, the usual. Rexar's got a machete and a hatchet, so he is going to slow down on his Hunter's Knife, which is probably not good at all. Mid lane we have a Pattern E, so this is the, I don't know which Pattern E this is. It's just, you know, I respect the OG Pattern E more than the other ones, but at this point I don't know where the real one is. Hopefully he makes it back and gets rid of these guys. Maybe it is the real one, I'm not sure, but Space Gem, Soul Engine, not really a good start for mid. I believe I had some issues at this time. My Discord overlay was messed up, so the open right side of my screen was completely open, which means I basically have to click on the map or press space to get my screen to go to the right, which is why it's going to look like I'm just running into them a few times. Later during that game, I tried to full screen the game and it changed my hotkeys, so I was having a great time, as you can imagine. And let's look at the game here. We're going to speed up because there's not too much that happens early game. Got Rev picking up the minerals here. He's going to get the Sanctum. So Vorpal has rotated to the bottom side, and we've got Artanis and Vega on the top side. Zoro looking for camps. He's going to find tanks here. Let's look at his items. He has a knife. I do think SCV is better now, especially if you can go for a wealth build. It is going to be better than the knife. You can just make up with the other items. Ihan also actually a pretty interesting item start if you can afford it. You could go for something like SCV Ihan, or you could go jungle item Ihan SCV. It just depends on how much cooking you want to do, but it does work out quite well. We've got a few trades over here. Looks like FedEx is picking up some money, but you did trade off quite a bit for it as well. Alright, Shiro, look, this is looking like a super heated build. Yeah, he's going to go for that. Ideally, you don't want to start race skins quite weak early, much stronger later. So mid lane, not much going on. Do we have any wards here? No wards in the mid lane. Might see some pickup relatively soon. We've got some skirmishing in the bottom. Zora's gonna pick up FedEx. He's probably gonna buy something juicy. Let's see, he does buy a Hecatomb, so that's a big pickup. A mid lane fall. Patterny pushing down the mid. He's got an Incinerator. He's gonna get picked up here. You definitely don't want to be pushing the mid lane as Marine King. You probably want to be either top or bottom. The top lane would be decent push here just because of how open it is, but if you can't find an angle in the top lane, you want to go bottom on Marine King here. The mid lane, you kind of want to let the jungler maybe pick up these waves since that lane is completely dead. And you should see both mid laners kind of out of that lane. So you've got the Overlord in the top left, and the Marine King is going to TP straight back mid and run back there. So he has to basically make all the length through here. He's going to grab a camp. Another thing I've noted is that he takes all of the range creeps, but you lose the XP on these, so it's usually not a good Teros. He's going to get picked off once again. So the Marine King has no business in the mid lane. He should be in the side lane pushing. He should be drawing pressure. So going straight down mid and then feeding over a kill is not really going to work out. Got to engage in the top side here. We get a trade. Vega survives. It looks like they were trying to dive the Vega, but it was not very clean. You don't really want to be diving Vega on any character, but Zeratul doesn't have any particularly good amount of damage unless you can pull the character from under their towers, or is going to sit here Aeon, get picked off. A really good ult by Rev. Mother picks him up. Got another pick right here on Rendome. Rexar is getting low. They do get Shiro, so got the Aeon, lost a few team members, still worth it, but they do chase the other Patterny all the way down here. So Patterny has slain Patterny, and he's back. He's looking for that mid turret. He's gonna get it. Nope, he retreats, but he still gets the turret here. Looks like Overlord has some items. He has an item and a half, which means he's late game already. Okay, Rendome and Vega are gonna pull up to the middle, get that kill over here. Warpole gets killed under his turret by the duo here. It looks like they're making plays. Zoro, he's sweating right now. We'll tune back in. Zeratul not gonna push in here. Zoro gonna grab the wave. Mid still getting pushed back up. Marine King probably gonna be looking for camps. He grabs one, he runs back mid. Top side looking pretty average here. Not a whole lot going on, a bit of warding and dewarding. We've got a couple wards on the map here, nothing too crazy or cool. Making some plays. Revision gets a kill on Patterny. They get another one on Random. Looks like they got the Vega Arcanus up here, and they're making plays. Zoro grabbing the mid wave. So here, the real problem for the blue team is going to be these two red members right here, doing quite a lot of damage with a lot of utility. And you kind of want to see the blue team pick up like one or two parallaxes, just given the nature of the comp they're going to have to play against. Obviously not a whole lot going on here. Overlord is kind of a soft counter to Bio, just given you can actually kill the minions with even a level 1 Q. And you usually want to pick this up around level either 8 or 10. You don't really need it earlier than that, but once you get your scaled items here, the Hunter's going to go in the box and just get executed, and that's kind of where you want the parallax. Kind of would want to see a parallax or Tetra on the Huntress, maybe both. Patterny gonna go for some push here. Alright, top side we have our Zoro Vega, kind of a difficult duo to lane with here. It looks like Zoro has not found his first item yet. Probably because he built Hecatomb instead of the agility item. Patterny gonna 1v3 here, he's not gonna make it, he's kind of running it. Mother waiting for a pick. He's got some pretty good items here. He's gonna drop in ult Shiro. Shiro is gonna walk out, but they do get Rendome. Rexar with just a blue gene and 2 starter items, not looking too hot. Alright, we've got a pickup in the mid. They're going for the Overlord. Overlord is gonna make it out. It looks like they're just gonna have to let him go. Drop a ward right here. Pretty good spot to put in. And looks like we're gonna just chase him down here. They're gonna get the rest of the camp, but a little bit too much movement here from this team. It looks like they would really want to be doing this boss. Obviously the Overlord ult is gonna make that complicated. The red team is ready to spring, so can't really go for it. Got some pings on the bosses here. Bottom side, Shiro is going to pick up FedEx pretty comfortably. They're about halfway to the health. The mid turret under siege. They're going for the Overlord. He's going to run. He's going to make it out. He's going to get planted straight into Zoro, who picks up a stun on Rev. Rev is going to get TP back. He's not going to make it. Marine King still full HP. Mother under the tower looking for a pick. He's not going to get it yet. And it looks like Rexar has slain Shiro down here. Very interesting stuff. We've got a TP back here. The whole blue team is up in the mid while the red team has left that center. There is no turrets here, so it's pretty much an open farm lane for the red team. The blue team has to look for plays on the flanks and get, especially the bottom turret would be the go-to. Got two in the top here. We're going to have a blink on Rev, who is going to get dived by the Tassadar, but Mother comes in, gets a really good ult here, gets in the random goes down. Shiro pops in, he's looking for Mother. Mother pops back in. He's looking for another play. He does have the coral here. FedEx going to put some damage down. He's looking for this Oracle. They're trying to finish it. Mother goes low, gets another distract. Really good play by these three there. We lose the bottom turret. Mother going to look to try to defend it. Zoro's still sweating in the jungle. He's... I don't know what this build is. This guy just assumes that he doesn't have to worry about anything, which is the case for this game. But like in a competitive game, you build like this, the game's over. You're just gonna get clapped. Alright, we've got a scan on the boss here. Zeratul tries to jump in. Mother gets the boss. Zoro is bad. He didn't use his knife. He's gonna look for Rexar here. Rexar is gonna go down after the box pattern. It looks like Rexar is not going down. Alright, and we're still looking for that Zeratul here. We're boxing him. We're still doing damage. The Zeratul finally goes down after 3 years. We're looking for Mother here. Probably over chasing. It looks like we did box him, but Huntress is up. We're probably going to see a Huntress ult here. There's the kill. Mother looking for a chase on Patterny Vega here. This is probably one of the troll players. He's not going to catch that. Obviously, it's too fast. We've got Artanis going back to Oracle and Vega grouping up for a very nice ult from the Moloch, who's going to pick up one free kill. Can they get another? They're going to chase that. No slows on him. He is moving around. He does 2 out. Looks like they chased him all the way to the mid tower. A very nice gem timer right here. This is what you want to see from your gems. Completely stops the dead push mid. They could have gotten that tower otherwise. So we're going to come to the flank here. Comes behind them. Goes on Revision. Revision's going to go down. Got another dive on the Zeratul, who goes down as well. Can they get Patterny? They are hot on the chase. They really want him. He is fast as hell. He's got an FOE and a Camus bodysuit, but he is going to get dived. They do get him, and then we're looking for this mid turret here. We've got a TP. Not necessarily a great idea. Mother and Revision going to go down. They do get a trade on Zoro, which is probably worth it. Get him off the map. And we get a pretty good 2-for-1 there, so a good play by the blue team overall. And we did lose the bottom turret to the Overlords. Vega's going to probably just idle for a while here. Probably going to look for these and maybe drop a couple wards. Let's look at these items. Don't love the items here. Probably just wanted something else. Hive is definitely better than Coat of Arms there, so that would be the go-to. Alright, Rev going to recapture this Sanctum here. We've got a bit of farming. This Overlord is getting scaled. Blue team has the map right now. Can they get the bottom turret? It doesn't look like it. They're just kind of hovering the top side. Not a whole lot going on. It looks like they're kind of focusing on this mid lane here, looking for the Overlord once again, but not really the person to chase. He obviously knows what's going on. Zog is going to run out with 1 HP. It looks like he's going to make it out. We have a fight here. Revision going to get picked off by the whole team. And they do get the Overlord, but it's going to be a big trade for them. Artanis on the chase, he's getting to about 25%. They're looking for Zeratul, who's going to go down. It is a 4-for-1. Pretty bad fight overall. It looks like they just got Overlord, and that was not worth it. They're going to get the Aeon here. You really want to get Zoro down first. They're going to leave the gem in here. So Zoro looking, he's got his Divinator, and he's Onslaught. He's looking for a Blue Gene. Decent build overall. Obviously, he's kind of poor, but it will do. The bio here, kind of hard countered by Overlord and the Lurker at this point. Not going to be able to do too much unless he gets a very clean combo. You would need a Silence plus your ultimate, and you have to time it before the Lurker burrows. If the Lurker burrows, the Silence won't do anything because he can just still attack even if you disarm him. So you really got to get everything on before the Lurker goes back underground. He's going to get another pick off on Patterny here. Rexar gonna get picked by the Artanis. He gets completely done. Mother gonna go for a retreat here. He's waiting for his Huntress and his Moloch to arrive. They're gonna get some damage on this tower here. We got a big ult by Rev. FedEx is hitting the Vega, but she's gonna run out. Rev is gonna get pulled in, gets clapped. Mother dodges the ult from Artanis, but this siege is gonna be very difficult to repulse. So we're gonna take a bunch of damage here. Mother gonna try to pop in, and he is gonna go down. It looks like FedEx has gone down as well, and it looks like it's just a cleanup job at this point. Mid turret completely open here. The wave is back there. There's the crashing wave, so you can tank these, but usually not going to be a great idea. Obviously, with the Overlord, you can take a little bit more risk, but you usually don't want to hard tank these. They're going to go for the Senko here. A lot of damage on these two. It's going to go really quick. We can see the Parallax coming in from Zoro, so his build is going to start crystallizing into something nice. Overlord does one-shot the waves, and so does the Lurker, so you could have one of them on each side of top and bottom here pushing out, and you wouldn't really be able to address them. You kind of need to, if anything, if they're closer to each other, if you have both of them in the same spot, they could get maybe Moloch ulted. Patterning gonna get picked off by Artanis and Vega here. They're running him down. Vorpal shows up. They do get the pickup on him. Not really great spot to be that far up. Should probably have been waiting for the waves to hit. Since the waves are supers here, they will crash in the base, so that's the best place to farm them out. This mid turret is the last one standing, so they really want to make sure that doesn't go down. Got another Overlord poke out here coming through. This mid turret is exposed. Revision is going to try to defend it. Not too much damage going on it. Vorpal on the right side, he is pulling 2 members, but not really doing a whole lot. He doesn't do that much damage, so he can clear waves, but not towers. Revision going to get dived here. A very nice gem getting popped, but it's not enough. I gotta rewind. What happened to that tower? I might have rewinded a little too far. I want to see what happened with the tower and the gem there, because that did not look right. Okay. Go back in, put the speeder. Okay, we've got the boss take. I'm going to slow this down a bit. I need to identify. So, Mother's got some pretty good items here. Probably want a Parallax in this build, but the rest is good. Same thing with Huntress here. Definitely don't want to finish this. This is just not good enough. Like, this won't do. You need a Parallax, and you just need flat damage. Moloch build looking pretty spicy here. This is pretty good. So Rev does have the gem. You see it's in his inventory here. 30-second cooldown. So in the next 30 seconds, he's going to be looking to use that, and we're going to try to see what went wrong with that one, because it looked like it was really well timed. Vorpal, kind of uncrackable here. You're not going to do too much to him, so he can just go wherever he wants. They got pretty optimal build, aside maybe from the Kodo arms. Kind of want to see the hive there, just that's slightly better, but I'm going to keep an eye on Rev here and see what happened with this gem. This is, obviously the game is lost here, but this would be a good case for proper usage. Obviously we've seen some good ults from him here, but kind of want to see if something went wrong with the towers here, or if it was just a circumstantial issue. Alright, so here we have the dive. We're going to slow it down. So he pops the gem right after the tower goes down, it appears, and he just gets completely overdived. And then Rexar comes in, and he is also going to get piled on. He goes down. Patterny did not use his ultimate. Probably just was focused on looking at his shop. Spent all that gold he had, and the game is going to be done here. We're going to speed it back up. They do get random here. Looks like Mother got a trade kill from somebody walking in too far. And here is our score screen. Alright, we're going to go back to Zoro. Did everyone leave? Let's see. Okay, there we have a clean screenshot. Alright, let's have a quick rundown. So, Zoro, the build looks good. This is probably a Sliptide. It's a good build. You definitely don't want to be doing what he's doing. So definitely incentivized to get the Divinator early. You don't want to begin a fast Onslaught Scimitar. It's just not going to be that good. It's too expensive. It's not going to return the stats you need. So Divinator Rush, no Hecatomb Reaper, just doesn't make much sense. The stats are much better on here. And then the Jungle Knife, you probably want to go SCV instead of Knife, just from the testing I've done, but it obviously depends on the build, so that is optional, but it should be much faster, and then you can kind of catalyze that build. The Parallax is just a great item overall, same thing with the Blue Jean, so the build looks good here, it's just the ordering was not very good. The Vorpal started with Superheated here. If we look at this team, it's got to be a pretty good buy overall. Superheated does get more valuable as the game goes, just because of the way the stats are set up and obviously core hull is going to be much better, but we do have a core hull on this Vega here, so it's pretty forgivable. Atom Smasher is more of a brawly item, but obviously that's what the build was going for here. If you're a more team setting, you probably want to pick up your Regalia item, so either core hull or buffer on this Vorpal, and then go for something similar. Obviously drop the Atom Smasher, and the Superheated is optional. Alright, Overlord, you can see this is just an attack speed build. There was obviously not too much fighting going on. If you're playing a more competitive game, you're definitely going to want to drop the Slip Tide and the Cutlass, and probably grab a Parallax very early on just to avoid the hard CC from a few of these characters, and then you can kind of like get away from these guys. And then to finish out the build, probably something like a Chilling and maybe some other defensive options. You can upgrade the Ihan as well. I believe this was a level 8 Ihan, so you can get a pretty decent spike of damage from this. Alright, next up we have Artanis, and looks like we have the standard hybrid build here. Don't really love the hybrid build, but Artanis is right at a decent place right now if you're just playing it as an early game snowballer. So he's relatively balanced. Obviously there's the issue of putting players on ward spots. That would put him in beyond broken tier, because he can just put you there and kind of hold you hostage. So Artanis is currently set to be, I guess, one of the strongest characters, but if he's played like this guy is playing it, he would probably be maybe a strong B tier, just because you can get shut down, but obviously he is quite good at it, so that made up for the character's weaknesses. And then we have our second pattern here. Second pattern has a coat of arms. Probably want to see a hive or a maybe a healing item here. You could go for a Cassia Crystal, like this could be nice. And then obviously these items are great. Could switch out the Scavenger for an Eye of Amon for some extra sightage, but pretty good items overall. Pattern E, we have an FOE, a Tachyon, and a Phantom Menace. This is a clear sign that this is the real pattern E, because this build is garbage. You probably want to start out with either a mid item or a buckler. Soul Engine is fine to pick up after that, or maybe a Coaling Saber. And then you're going to be looking for Darwin's as your fast item. After Darwin's, you can pick up another attack speed or damage item. You could go for Wrathion, but then you run into problems like Vorpal here, where the Wrathion is just not going to do much to that. So Cleaver is probably going to be a better pickup. Coat of Arms, probably a good pickup on this, and you could just go for the component of the Cleaver, and then you kind of want to pick up damage bruiser items. So the FOE is actually good, it's just probably not good early. You want to kind of pick up your core items first. Could pick up something like Parallax and a few other things that give you hybrid stats, but let the build develop throughout. You could also go for a tankier version with a Silver Soul and some more support or buffer aura items, but the Phantom Menace has to go. The rest is okay. Obviously, Force of Entropy you want to get later rather than sooner. Next, on to Rev's build, and we have a very standard, really solid build here. We've got the Taser, I believe he added that later on, and then we have a Silver Soul Core Hull Buffer, so he has great support items. He would be really useful in a team fight. Obviously, it's going to cover a lot of the damage. The issue here being that this team doesn't output much damage, so even though these items are great, you can't really do too much with them, considering that this team is snowballing, and then you've got a Lurker Overlord dealing insane amounts of damage. This is not going to be enough to deal with it, but it's still the best build. On to Mother, we have the same thing here, a really good starter build. It looks like he did pick up a Buckler, but later on should have probably gotten that at level 1, and then just get Recover, and you can kind of sustain through the lane, grab a little bit of CS, and then get your goggles on the first return, maybe with along with either a coil, or you could also get a Lost Treasure just to get some money going throughout the build. And then you're going to want to pick up a Symphonic Seed. In this game specifically, because of the CC from the Lurker and Overlord, getting an early Parallax would be a pretty good pickup. Bio does need Parallax to play the game against teams like these where you have very annoying CC, so maybe a buckler into money items parallax and then picking up the rest of the core would have been great. But obviously he did go for the core haul here, trying to get some stacks and stagger Zora's damage. It was obviously not enough for this matchup, but in a more serious game, that would probably have done great. And then we've got an organic here, pretty standard, good power spike, and the symphonic seed to cycle the cooldowns. Parallax here would have been a great item, but same issue as Rev, even though the build is good, it's going to be really difficult to deal with all this. Next up, we have Rexar. Rexar was lost. He went from Machete to Hunter's Knife into Blue Jean, so not a great start here. I'm finding Blue Jean to just not do enough damage. It just doesn't do enough overall, especially early game, to be warranted. So you're kind of rushing like a clunky, expensive item, and you're not going to get much out of it for most of the game. So I definitely don't recommend it. Bioplasmid, it's a little bit better. It's definitely a much better starter item, and you can definitely do a lot with it. It's kind of adjacent to a Shinobi or Divinator start, but since it's much cheaper and gives you that much stat early in the game on a character that uses it very well, I would say Bioplasmid should be your go-to, especially if that's going to be your first item rush. So let's suppose you're done with your knife or your laning. An early Bioplasmid on Zeratul is going to do great things, and it's definitely going to have more value than the Blue Jean. I would say you could just go for this as your first big item and just ignore the Blue Jean and go for another damage item just to buffer it, and then go for a few defensive options, since at that point you don't really need to do that much more damage. You're going to be tagging them, and then it's going to be really hard to get away. Sledgehammer, I don't know what he was building with this. Could be anything, but overall, he's got the attack speed here. It's just the same thing as Zora. The ordering is not so good, so definitely want to see some crisper play and then get the ordering right on these items to get the right power spikes. Last up, we have FedEx. FedEx appeared to be doing pretty well in the early game, but it looks like he fell off, and obviously you got the character to kind of blame for that. A very soft character, kind of easy to pick off, so you have to play careful, and it's very strong in the early game. So as you get later into the game, you kind of want to maintain the item advantage, similar to Nova, where if you're not 2 items ahead, you're going to struggle against the other team. And here, his team is kind of outmatched, so these items are not going to be sufficient to get an advantage. You could probably trade the Rathion for just the range here. You don't want the full item. The Pyre Shinobi style, this is just not going to work. You've got the Coral. You've got the Coral here. You've got superheated Aegis. Like this, you can't break this with this build here. So you kind of have to tech switch. If it was the old Pyre, it would be okay. But this Pyre here is just not strong enough. So you want to drop the Pyre, drop the Rathion. You could go for the range item, but you're going to want to go Shinobi. You're going to want to go probably Divinator Cleaver, and then either Tetra or Parallax to just deal with the Lurker Overlord CC. But this right here is not going to do enough. The Psycho Crusher is okay, but if you just go Shinobi Psycho Crusher, you better be snowballing, because your damage is going to fall off really hard here, and it looks like he just didn't have... Obviously, his team is going to be weaker in these team fights, but these items don't help overall. That is pretty much it on the play here. Obviously, if you just look at the team comps, this would be really difficult for this team to win without some significant early lead. And obviously, Patterny was running it, so not too easy to play, but a decent game overall. You wouldn't be able to play like Zoro in most games, just given that you would assume the other team would be more evenly matched. But if you do get in a game like this, you shouldn't assume that you're playing that well. It's mostly just coming out of the pressure from your teammates. So Zoro did play well, but he is very easily enabled by this team here. So let's suppose we put him on the other team. He's going to struggle to get maybe those free camps, and then he's going to have to do a lot more work in those team fights. This build won't be as viable. He'll probably have to get the Parallax earlier. So that's an interesting dynamic. Definitely would want to see a more balanced game here, but pretty good play overall. All right, and that's it.